And welcome back to Capitol Tonight one final time. It hasn't even been 4 months since the 2010 elections, but talk of 2012 is actually really already well underway, and this hits closer to home than President Obama's bid for re-election. Fresh off her first ever statewide win last fall, Senator Kirsten Gillibrand must actually defend her seat 21 months from now, this time running for a full 6-year term. And it appears my next guest may be considering a rematch. David Malpass lost the Republican primary to Joe DiAguardi last year, but since then he has not faded from the New York political scene. In fact, he held a lunch today discussing the state pension crisis, along with a key potential ally, State Conservative Party Chairman Mike Long. It's good to see you, David. How are you?
Hi, Liz. Good to see you. I'm fine.
So I just am curious, you had this lunch. It was on the issue of state pension crisis, which of course is something that a lot of people are talking about. The conservative line went the last time around to Mr. DiAguardi. Are you laying the groundwork here for the conservative line in 2012?
I'm trying to stay involved in the issues. You know, from my campaign last year, I care a lot about how the finances of the country move and also of New York State. So that was the topic of the lunch, and that's what we accomplished. There were a lot of people in the room, including Ed Cox, the Republican chair, and some former Congress people. Sue Kelly was there, and we just had a good roundtable discussion about the out-of-control spending going on still in New York State.
But you are indeed interested in possibly running again?
Oh, that's early to tell. I'm really trying to hold the people's feet to the fire that have been elected. You know, I'm chairman of a new organization called GrowPAC, and one of the things we did in October was support candidates that were running for the U.S. Congress.
Sure.
So we've got a good group of new Republicans there, and it's critical that they really have an impact on spending. So I'm very happy to see some of those new members. And then in Albany, we have a new Republican state Senate. So I'm optimistic that they'll be able to really make an impact on the fiscal crisis here in New York.
You know, one of the problems that I think the Republicans experienced last fall was that they couldn't coalesce around a candidate. It ended up being a three-way GOP primary. Yourself and Bruce Blakeman, both of you got onto the ballot at the convention, and then Joe DiAguardi, he petitioned his way on. He had the conservative line, so that gave him something of an edge. But some people think if you had all actually managed to get together behind one person, you might have had a better shot against Kirsten Gillibrand. Do you think that the party and the conservatives will actually manage to get behind someone? Because she's just getting stronger by the day.
I think there is an effort to come together more on the issues between the Conservative and Republican Party lines. The people get along pretty well together. We're going to see a little test of that in the Congressional District 26, the former Chris Lee seat, where there will be a good battle. And I'm expecting the Conservative and Republican line people to come together on a candidate there, and that'll be a good first test.
Right, well, because we had seen what happens when they don't, right? That's what happened in New York 23 with Didi Scazafava and Doug Hoffman, and that opened up an alley for a Democrat, Bill Owens, to come in and win. This time around, it looks like there is the inside edge to Assemblywoman Jane Corwin on the Republican side. Will GrowPAC be involved in that race?
Yes, if she's the candidate, we will endorse her and try and give her support. She's, you know, just an excellent, strong assemblywoman with private sector experience. She's the kind of candidate that we need, and it'd be fabulous to have her in Washington.
Are you not concerned, though, and I've asked this question of a lot of Republican leaders, that that district will end up fractured and perhaps no longer existing, pitting Assemblywoman Corwin, assuming that she would win, then Congresswoman Corwin, against someone else out there who would actually be quite strong, perhaps even Louise Slaughter or Brian Higgins? They're entrenched Democrats.
I don't know what's going to happen in 2012. I did see that the governor proposed a bill to have some kind of a commission think about redistricting. But, you know, Corwin would be really strong even in that kind of a battle. In Western New York, people are out of jobs. They're being hurt, I think, substantially by the government, the federal and the state government. And so there's a logic that a strong Republican like Corwin could win even as the politics change, as the district lines change. So I think voters should just vote for the right candidate right now and let the redistricting process take its course.
Before I let you off the hook on 2012, I'm just curious, what do you think the timing needs to be here for someone, yourself or someone else, to make a decision about getting into the race and really announcing his or her intentions? Because Kirsten Gillibrand, as I mentioned, she is now, her poll numbers are improving since the election. She was in the 50s before. Now she's nearing 60% approval rating. So it makes it more difficult. Plus, there's a presidential election, of course, in 2012, and that brings out a lot of Democrats. So what's the timeline, do you think?
I haven't focused very much on the time horizon. I think one issue is how the economy goes. A lot of these elections in 2012 are going to be based on the fiscal crisis. So one of the things that's frustrating with Senator Gillibrand is that she has really not engaged. I testified 2 weeks ago to the Senate Budget Committee. She's not even involved in that whole process of trying to figure out how to bring down the federal government spending levels. And that's something that really hurts New York, because New York provides a lot of the money right into Washington that Washington then spends. And so I think as the election evolves in 2011 and 2012, there'll be lots of opportunities to see whether she's going to really step up and be a leader on this fiscal crisis.
Let me just ask you, in parting, the topic of your luncheon today, which I should be clear was not a fundraiser but merely a policy luncheon that you held, was pension crisis. Now, what was the one thing that I think that the people there actually determined was the main problem that is facing the state when it battles with escalating pension costs?
Yeah, this was our second, actually, called Policy and Politics Luncheon. So GROPAC is just sponsoring a debate and, or not a debate, I mean a discussion group to think about these issues. So what we decided was that, you know, Michael Fitzpatrick was one of the speakers. He's an assemblyman from Suffolk County, and he has a bill in which needs a sponsor in the Senate that would rein in the pensions for politicians. You know, New York has this bad situation where the politicians get these lifetime pensions, and so they have a self-interest in building it up. So what we would like to see is a strong Senate co-sponsor or sponsor of Fitzpatrick's bill or some version of it. And Dean Skelos, the majority leader in the state Senate, I would like to see out and pushing the idea that we need real reform in state pensions.
Okay, well, we will put that question to him next time we see him. In the meantime, I want to thank you, David Malpass, for joining us this evening. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Liz. Good to see you.